So this is the fourth lesson of this financial modeling course. In the first lesson, we included the assumptions. In the second lesson, we modeled our asset cash flows. Then we projected our unlevered cash flows and the asset valuation. And now we're completing our unlevered cash flows and are calculating our unlevered returns. So that's the unlevered IRR, the unlevered multiple of invested capital, and the unlevered profits. Now we can calculate our exit costs. And the exit costs are 1% of the sales proceeds. Okay, so that's a pretty easy calculation. So we're multiplying the sales proceeds by 1%. Okay. Copy this over. And this time it's actually a negative. Okay. And now we're having our exit costs, which now means that we can calculate our total unlevered cash flows. Okay, and the total unlevered cash flows are the purchase price plus the transfer taxes plus due diligence costs plus the NOI less asset cash flows plus gross sales proceeds less the exit costs. So it's basically the sum of everything. Okay, and now we have our unlevered cash flows. Okay, let's put a border here. Make sure it's nicely formatted, so we use a gray color. Okay, and let's make sure that the board that you can read everything. Let's call this unlevered cash flows, and I'll make the border a little bit wider as well. Okay, perfect. And now we have our unlevered cash flows, which means that we can calculate our unlevered returns. And there are three key return metrics that you typically see in real estate financial models. The first one is the IRR, which is the internal rate of return. How can we calculate the IRR? Well, we can use the XIRR formula. We do it like this. So we pick up the cash flows and we pick up the cash flows that correspond to the dates when those cash flows occur. So we know not only what the cash flows are, but we also know the date when we receive those cash flows. Okay, and so here, the internal rate of return of this investment is 6.2%. Okay, and it's always better to use the XIRR formula because this way we're picking up the correct date. We could also use the simple IRR formula in this case. So let's just do this here. So you can see the simple IRR formula, which in this case gives me almost the exact same number. And the reason why it's almost giving me the exact same number, so it basically works just as well here, is because the simple IRR formula assumes that you receive your cash flows on an annual basis. Now, the problem with that is that most financial models are actually built by using quarterly or monthly cash flows. So the simple IRR formula doesn't work anymore. So try to get into the habit of using the XIRR formula. Now, what else do we need to calculate? Well, we need to calculate the profit. So the profit is simply the sum of the cash flows. Simple as that, which means that we make a profit of 31 million euros. And then we use the MOIC, which is simply the sum of the positive cash flows, which we do like this, right? So I don't know why I used the XIRR. So we do this sum of the positive cash flows over the sum of the negative cash flows. Okay, multiplied by -1. So the MOIC is therefore 1.34. So that means for every dollar or euro that we invest into this asset, we receive 1.34. So if you had put 100 euros into this investment, your return would be 1.34. So by the time you will have sold the asset, you will have received 1.34 times your money. So the IRR is essentially the annualized return. So it means over the course of those 5 years, you will have received a 6.2% effectively every year. And the 1.34 is the return over those 5 years, and you made a profit of 31.7 million euros. Okay, and now you can also see what happens to your returns when you change the exit date. So let's change again the exit date, let's say to 2. Okay, so now you can see number one, your cash flows updated, but you can also see that your returns changed a little bit. Your IRR didn't actually change that much, but your MOIC went down, and so did your profit. Okay, and so you can see how your returns change over time. Okay, let's change this back. Let's change the exit to the exit date to, or the exit year to year 5. And now this updated again. And so this is basically the end of the third lesson. So in the first lesson, we put in the assumptions here on the top. Okay, then in the second lesson, we included the asset cash flows. And now we included our unlevered cash flows, including our unlevered returns. Now, the unlevered cash flows do not yet include the impact of debt financing. And that's what we do in the next lesson. So in the next lesson, we calculate our levered cash flows. Okay, and so that's it.